AITA for kicking my sister and her kids out after they turned my son's room into a nursery without asking. I, 35F, live in a 4-bedroom house with my husband, 37M, and our 13-year-old son, Tyler. One of the rooms is my office. I work from home. One is a guest room, and Tyler has his own bedroom. My sister, Dana, 33F, recently went through a rough divorce and asked if she and her 2 kids, 4M and 1F, could stay with us for a few weeks max until she found her own place. That was 6 months ago. From the beginning, it was chaos. Her son is in full tantrum mode all the time. Her baby cries nonstop, and Dana is either overwhelmed, asleep, or on her phone. I get it. Single parenting is hard. I've helped when I could, babysitting, helping her apply for rentals, even pitching in on her resume. But the situation started to stretch my patience thin. My husband and I had a talk with her 3 weeks ago and let her know she needed to give us a move-out date. She got defensive, said nothing was available, and accused us of wanting to throw a single mom on the street. We felt bad and gave her until the end of October. Then last weekend, my husband and I went on a short trip for our anniversary. Tyler stayed with his grandparents. When we came back Sunday night, I immediately noticed something was off. The guest room was untouched. My office door was locked. It never is. And Tyler's room, well, it wasn't his anymore. His posters were gone. His desk had been pushed into the corner. The walls were repainted a pastel yellow. I'm not kidding. And a crib had been set up in the middle of the room. His bed had been moved to the guest room, which now looked like a makeshift teen dorm with his stuff hastily shoved in. I was stunned. Dana came downstairs like everything was normal and said, "Oh, you're back early. What do you think?" Like she was showing off a Pinterest project. I asked her what the hell she had done to Tyler's room. She got all huffy and said it was just logical, that the baby needed her own room, and Tyler was old enough to adapt. She also said she had asked my son, and he said he didn't mind. When I asked Tyler later, he admitted Dana said it would be just temporary, and he didn't want to be rude. I saw red. I told Dana she had no right to do that without asking me or my husband. She tried to guilt me by saying it was just a room, and I was being selfish when she was trying to establish stability for her kids. I told her this crossed a huge line and she needed to leave, not at the end of the month, but by the end of the week. She cried, said I was being heartless, and called our parents, who have now taken her side. They say family supports each other and that I'm prioritizing walls and paint over human beings. That Tyler is young and will forget it, but Dana is in crisis. That a mother protecting her kids should be seen as brave, not punished. I stood my ground. Dana left yesterday, but not before calling me a cold B*** in front of my son. The baby was screaming. Her son threw a tantrum, and she left a mess behind. Tyler was quiet about it, but last night I caught him staring at the empty room that used to be his. Now I feel like crap. He hasn't said much, but I'm second-guessing everything. Should I have just let it go for a few more weeks? Maybe I am prioritizing a bedroom over a family in need. But I also feel like I need to show my son that his boundaries and space matter too. AITA, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for canceling my son's college fund after he said I wasn't his real family. I, 47M, have been married to my wife, Jessica, 45F, for 20 years. When we got married, she had a 3-year-old son from a previous relationship, Liam. His biological father was never involved. He skipped town before Liam was even born, never paid child support, and hasn't had any contact since. I raised Liam as my own from the time he was in diapers. He has always called me Dad. I was the one up with him at night when he was sick. I coached his soccer team. I taught him how to ride a bike. When he graduated high school, I was the one who cried in the crowd, not his bio dad. We also have a daughter together, Emily, 17F, who's a high school senior now. When Liam was 10, I legally adopted him. That was one of the happiest days of my life. I remember he made me a card that said, "Thanks for choosing to be my dad. I run a small but successful business, and over the years, I've saved a good amount of money for both kids' college funds." They were equal, $60,000 each. I always made it clear I would support them as long as they took their education seriously. Liam is now 23 and in his final year of college. He moved out at 19 to live with his girlfriend, and I've continued to help him financially, tuition, rent, car repairs, everything. We didn't always see eye to eye in his teen years, but overall, we were close, or so I thought. Now here's where everything went sideways. Last month, my wife's side of the family had a big reunion. We hosted it at our house, and Liam brought his girlfriend. At one point, we were all sitting around in the backyard, eating, drinking, laughing. Someone made a toast about families sticking together, and I said something like, "I'm just proud to have raised two amazing kids." Liam kind of snorted and said, "Well, one of them is yours, technically." Everyone got quiet. I thought he was joking, so I laughed and said, "What's that supposed to mean?" He shrugged and said, "Just saying I'm not really your kid. You just married into it." I honestly felt like someone slapped me. I said, "Liam, I adopted you. I've been your dad for 20 years. And he goes, "Yeah, but that doesn't make us blood. You're not my real dad. I appreciate everything, but let's not pretend." Jessica looked like she was going to cry. My daughter got up and walked inside. The mood of the entire gathering turned cold. I just stood there completely stunned. Later, I confronted him about it, and he doubled down. He said he was just setting boundaries, that he didn't want to keep pretending we were closer than we are, and that he's trying to connect with his biological roots. He's been trying to track down his biological father recently, apparently. So after a few days of thinking, I called him and told him that since I'm not really his dad, I'm also not really obligated to continue paying for his college or living expenses. I told him the rest of his college fund, about $17,000, will be reallocated to his sister's graduate school plans. He lost it, started yelling about how I was being petty and vindictive, and that he's still my son whether I like it or not. I said, "No, you made it very clear I'm not your real family. So go ask your real dad for the money." He hung up on me, and now he, his girlfriend, and even some of my in-laws are calling me heartless. Jessica is torn. She's furious with Liam, but says I might have gone too far. I told her I spent over $40,000 on someone who now claims I was just a placeholder. I didn't cut him off to punish him. I cut him off because I realized I've been pouring love and money into someone who sees me as just a step-parent he had to tolerate. My daughter is on my side. She said Liam has always had a bit of chip on his shoulder, and that he probably just said that because his girlfriend was there, she's apparently been pushing him to find his true family. Still, part of me feels guilty. I raised that boy. I watched him take his first steps, held him when he broke his arm, taught him how to shave. Am I really such a monster for deciding to stop financially supporting someone who no longer considers me his father? AITA? AITA for refusing to let my fiancé's sister bring her service dog to our wedding, even though she says she needs it for her anxiety. I, 32M, am getting married in March to my fiancée Lena, 29F. We've been together 5 years, engaged for 2, and planning this wedding for almost a year. We're doing a small destination wedding in Colorado, 50 guests max, close friends and family, at a beautiful lodge in the mountains. It's going to be outdoors in the snow, very rustic and winter-themed, with a formal dinner indoors afterward. It's the kind of wedding we've dreamed about forever. Lena's been pouring herself into the details, the colors, the flowers, the music, the seating arrangements. I'm not exaggerating when I say she's planned every second of the day to make it perfect. She even custom-ordered table settings and hand-wrote all the place cards. We're both introverts, and the idea of a big, chaotic party just never appealed to us. This was supposed to be calm, elegant, intimate. Lena has a younger sister, Jamie, 24F, who was diagnosed with PTSD and severe anxiety 3 years ago after a car accident. Since then, she's had a golden retriever named Toby as a service animal. He's a legitimate service dog, trained and certified, and I want to be clear, I respect service animals. This isn't about denying their importance. But Toby is still a large, shedding dog with a ton of energy, and when we've been around him in the past, he's knocked over drinks, jumped on furniture, and even chewed part of Lena's handbag once. Jamie insists he's trained, but I've seen otherwise. When we first sent out the wedding invitations, we included a clear note: no children, no pets. We did this not to exclude anyone specifically, but to keep the event peaceful, clean, and organized. We've rented a historic lodge that has strict policies about animals, especially inside the dining hall, where the reception will be. On top of that, Lena is allergic to dog hair. Not severely, but enough that extended exposure causes her to break out in hives. So having Toby in the space for hours would be miserable for her. About a month ago, Jamie called Lena and asked if she could bring Toby. Lena gently told her no, explained the allergy issue and the lodge's policy, and offered to help Jamie make arrangements with a local boarder for the weekend or find a nearby hotel that accepts dogs. Jamie didn't respond well. She got upset, said we were being discriminatory, and told Lena that we were choosing aesthetics over her mental health. Lena cried for hours after that call. Jamie's parents, Lena's mom and stepdad, are now involved. They're saying we're being ableist, that PTSD is a serious condition, and we're essentially telling Jamie she's not welcome unless she ditches the one thing that keeps her grounded. I don't deny Jamie has a real condition. I'm not unsympathetic, but I also think our wedding is our day, and we have a right to set boundaries for what makes us comfortable. We offered a compromise. Jamie could bring someone she trusts as her support person, a cousin she's close to, and we'd pay for a private room if she needed to step away during the event. But she says that's not the same and that we're essentially banning her by banning Toby. Now, she says she's not coming unless we allow the dog. Lena is devastated. She wanted her only sister there on her wedding day. Jamie has started posting vague things online about being excluded for having a disability, and now some extended family are taking sides. A few cousins have backed out of attending. One had sent us a message saying she's ashamed of us. My own parents say Jamie is being manipulative and self-centered. They're proud I'm sticking to our boundaries, especially because Lena's health is at risk. But now Lena is second-guessing everything. She keeps asking if maybe we're being too rigid. I don't think we are. I think we gave a reasonable compromise and were clear from the start. This isn't about not liking Jamie or not believing in mental illness. It's about maintaining the vision of our wedding and making sure Lena isn't sneezing or breaking out in hives on our big day. But with all the pushback, I'm starting to feel like maybe we're the bad guys here. It wasn't our goal to exclude Jamie, but it's looking like she'll miss the whole thing because of this. So, AITA for refusing to allow my fiance's sister to bring her service dog to our wedding. AITA for kicking my sister and her kids out of my house after she broke a stupid rule. I, 33F, bought my first home last year after saving for nearly a decade. It's a modest 3-bedroom place in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it's mine, and I take a lot of pride in it. My parents were never wealthy, so everything I've accomplished came from working long hours, budgeting, and frankly, sacrificing a lot of my social life. My older sister, Lena, 38F, hasn't had the easiest life. She got pregnant young, didn't go to college, and has struggled with unstable jobs and bad relationships. She now has 3 kids, 10M, 7F, and 4M, and their dad is nowhere in the picture. She's lived with my parents for years, but earlier this summer, their house was deemed unsafe due to structural issues, and they all had to move out temporarily. My parents moved in with my aunt, but Lena couldn't stay there. Not enough room. Out of guilt and not wanting my nieces and nephew to end up in a shelter, I offer my home to Lena for the summer. The original agreement was that she and the kids would stay for 3 months max while she found a job and saved up for an apartment. Before they moved in, I laid out very clear rules. No smoking or vaping in the house. No strangers/guests unless I approve. Clean up after yourselves, especially the kids. No entering my bedroom or home office. I work remotely and have sensitive client info. Respect my space and my stuff. Lena laughed a little at my house rules and said I sounded like a landlord, but agreed. The first few weeks were fine, chaotic, sure, but I expected that with 3 kids. I helped Lena update her resume and even connected her with a friend who runs a daycare who was looking for part-time help. She got the job and things were looking up. But then the small rule break started. I come home from a walk to find her vaping on the couch. The kids would leave messes in the kitchen or write on the walls, crayon, but still. I found food wrappers under the couch and in the guest bathroom. I reminded her about the rules. She rolled her eyes and said I was high-strung. The breaking point came 2 weeks ago. I came home early from a weekend trip. She knew I'd be gone. And when I opened the front door, I immediately smelled weed. Not just a hint, it was overwhelming. I stormed inside and found Lena and 2 of her friends, never met them, in my living room, clearly high, while her kids ran around with no supervision. My 4-year-old nephew had spilled juice on my work laptop, which was somehow out on the coffee table, even though it had been locked in my office. My door had been forced open, scratches on the lock, frame slightly bent. I lost it. I told her she had 24 hours to pack her things and leave. She started crying, yelling that I was heartless, and begged me not to do this to her and the kids. Her friends left quietly. The kids cried, confused and scared. I told her I'd help her pay for a motel for a week, but she had to go. She left, called my parents, and now the whole family is blowing up my phone, calling me cruel and selfish. My mom said I was turning my back on family in need, and that I should have just given her a warning. My dad tried to be neutral, but even he suggested I should have handled it differently. For the last 2 weeks, I've been second-guessing myself. The house has been quieter and I got the lock fixed, but I still feel awful. My nephew ruined my $2,000 laptop, and Lena has made no effort to replace or even apologize for it. The whole situation just left me feeling like the villain in my own home. I've talked to a few close friends and got mixed reactions. Some say I did the right thing, especially after the weed and the broken lock. Others say family is family, and I should have cut her more slack given her situation. The part that really eats at me is the kids. They didn't ask for this. They just caught in the middle of their mom's bad decisions. But I was starting to feel like a live-in maid and babysitter in my own home. I was working all day, cleaning up after them at night, and the boundaries I'd set were just being stomped on. Lena texted me 2 nights ago asking if she could come back just for a week or 2 while she sorts things out. I didn't respond. I don't think I can go through that again, but I feel terrible knowing they might be sleeping in a car or worse. So Reddit, AITA for kicking my sister and her kids out after she broke a rule I made very clear. AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay in my house after he moved in without asking. This all started about 6 months ago when my sister, Sarah, started dating a guy named Mike. I don't really know much about Mike because I'm not super close with Sarah, but from what I gathered, he's had a rough past with relationships and has bounced around a lot. Sarah has always been a bit of a free spirit, and I guess they hit it off. I live alone in a 2-bedroom apartment in a decent part of the city. It's my sanctuary and the place where I do most of my work as a freelance graphic designer. I'm generally private, and while I like my sister, our lives don't really overlap much. We talk occasionally, but I wouldn't say we're close enough that I would just invite her friends or partners to stay without some sort of heads up. So here's where things got messy. A couple months ago, Sarah called me, sounding stressed and a little desperate. She said that Mike had been kicked out of his apartment due to some issues with his landlord, and he had nowhere to go. She asked if Mike could crash at my place temporarily while they figured something out. I was hesitant, but tried to be supportive. I said I could help for a night or 2 at most, since my place isn't big and I work from home a lot, so I need quiet and space. Sarah seemed relieved and said she'd tell Mike to pack light and just stay for a couple of days. Well, Mike showed up the next day with a bunch of bags and his dog, which I wasn't prepared for, but I'm an animal lover, so I didn't complain. I let him in and showed him around the apartment. He was polite and friendly enough, and I thought maybe this would be okay for a little while. 2 weeks passed. No plans to move out. No updates from Sarah about a new place. Mike started acting like he lived there. He'd come and go as he pleased, cook in my kitchen, and sometimes stay out all night. His dog, which is pretty large and loud, would bark a lot, and I was constantly cleaning up after him. I brought up the issue to Sarah, asking if they had found a new place yet or if Mike had made other arrangements. Sarah shrugged it off, saying they were working on it, but it was taking longer than expected. Around the third week, Mike told me he wanted to contribute to the household expenses. I was touched but told him it wasn't necessary. I did appreciate the gesture, though. Then came the weekend when Sarah decided to come over with some friends for a party. I told her I wasn't comfortable hosting a party in my apartment, especially with Mike already living there unofficially, but she insisted, saying it would be low-key. The party was anything but low-key. There were about a dozen people crammed into my small place, music blaring, and the dog was going nuts. I was furious, but didn't want to cause a scene since it was Sarah's party. After the party, I told Sarah and Mike that this arrangement wasn't working for me. I need my space and quiet for work, and it's unfair that I'm expected to accommodate all of this without notice or respect for my home. I asked Mike to find another place as soon as possible. Sarah got upset and accused me of being selfish, saying I was abandoning her when she needed help. Mike also said I was cold and unwelcoming. I stood my ground and said that helping someone doesn't mean giving up your entire life and space indefinitely. Since then, Sarah has barely spoken to me, and Mike has been passive-aggressive whenever I'm around. I even found out from a mutual friend that Sarah has been telling people I'm a bad sister and that I kicked her boyfriend out without cause. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for refusing to let Mike stay in my apartment after he basically moved in without proper arrangements? I wanted to help, but I have boundaries, and this situation spiraled way out of control. AITA for refusing to take care of my sister's dog when she's clearly avoiding her responsibilities and now blaming me for it. I, 28F, have always been the responsible one in my family, which honestly isn't a role I particularly enjoy, but I've accepted it over the years. My sister, let's call her Emma, 26F, has always been a bit more carefree and impulsive. Our relationship has had its ups and downs, but overall, we get along well enough. However, a situation has come up recently that's causing a major rift, and I'm starting to question if I'm actually in the wrong here. About a year ago, Emma impulsively adopted a dog, a medium-sized mixed breed named Max. From the start, I was hesitant because I know what kind of commitment a dog requires, and Emma isn't exactly the most consistent person when it comes to responsibility. But she seemed so excited and convinced me she was ready for the responsibility, so I didn't push it further. At first, everything was okay. Emma posted cute pictures of Max, talked about training and vet visits, and I even helped her buy supplies and gave her tips on dog care. But as time went on, I started noticing a pattern. Emma would often leave Max alone for long hours, sometimes overnight, and the dog's health and behavior started deteriorating. Max was getting anxious, barking a lot, and seemed generally unhappy. I tried talking to Emma about it, gently pointing out that a dog needs daily exercise, attention, and care. She would brush it off or promise to do better, but nothing really changed. The breaking point came a few months ago when Emma had to go on a last-minute work trip that was going to last 2 weeks. She asked me to take care of Max while she was away. I said yes because I didn't want to leave her stranded and because I genuinely like dogs. Taking care of Max was a full-time job. I had to rearrange my schedule, and I quickly realized that Max had some health issues. His nails were overgrown, he had some skin infections from scratching, and he was underweight. I took him to the vet, cleaned up his wounds, and started a more regular routine of feeding and walking. I messaged Emma regularly to update her, hoping she would acknowledge how much work this was and maybe step up when she returned. When Emma came back, I expected her to thank me and maybe take more responsibility for Max. Instead, she acted like everything was fine and told me she was going on another trip in a few days, asking me again to take care of Max. I agreed reluctantly, but made it clear this was becoming difficult for me. Things went downhill from there. Emma started dropping Max off at my place without notice, sometimes for days or even a week. She would send vague messages like, "Can you watch him?" without any specifics or prep. I was working full-time and had my own life, and the constant interruptions were stressing me out. Max was clearly happier at my place because I was more consistent with feeding, walks, and vet visits, but I was exhausted. Last month, Emma left town for nearly a month and just left Max with me. I had to call her several times to get permission to take Max to the vet when he started limping badly. When I asked her about medical expenses, she told me she didn't have money right now and that I should just cover it, promising to pay me back later. At this point, I reached my limit. I told Emma she needed to either take care of Max herself or find someone else who could, because I couldn't keep being his caretaker without support or communication. I said that if she wasn't able to give Max the care he needs, she should consider rehoming him. Emma blew up on me. She accused me of being selfish, saying I was abandoning her and Max, and that she was overwhelmed but needed help. She insisted I owed her because I'm the older sister and that I should just step up for family. She even told our parents, who sided with her, saying I was being unreasonable and refusing to help. Since then, I've been feeling incredibly guilty. I love Max and don't want to see him suffer, but I'm also trying to live my own life. Emma has made little effort to care for him herself, and it's clear she's avoiding responsibility by passing Max on to me. Our parents are now pressuring me to keep looking after Max, saying I'm being unfair to Emma. I'm torn because I don't want to cause a family fight, but I also feel like Emma is taking advantage of me. AITA for refusing to be Max's full-time caretaker when Emma clearly isn't stepping up? Or should I just suck it up and keep handling the dog, even though it's hurting my mental health and personal time? AITA for refusing to give my sister my inheritance money after she helped herself to a significant amount without asking. I, 38F, come from a family where money has always been a sensitive topic. My parents weren't wealthy by any means, but they worked hard and made sure my sister and I never felt deprived growing up. My sister, 35F, and I have always had a complicated relationship, supportive at times, distant at others. We're very different people, and while I try to be there for her, she often seems to expect me to bend around her needs. Recently, our parents passed away unexpectedly within a few months of each other. They left behind a modest estate, but after paying off debts and expenses, there was about $250,000 that was left to be split between my sister and me equally. We both knew the money was there, but the details were handled by a lawyer, and neither of us was super involved beyond signing the necessary paperwork. After the estate was settled, I kept the money in a savings account, planning to use it for something stable like a down payment on a house or maybe investing for my future. I'm currently single, no kids, and have been focusing on building a stable life. My sister, on the other hand, has been going through some rough patches. She's been struggling financially for years due to bad decisions, some medical bills, and general instability. She's also had a history of borrowing money from friends and family and rarely paying it back. A couple of months after receiving my half of the inheritance, I noticed my checking account was lower than it should be. I checked my transactions and found multiple large transfers going out, some of which I didn't recognize or remember making. After digging, I discovered my sister had gotten access to my online banking through my saved passwords on my phone when I had left it unattended. She transferred $30,000 from my account to hers and then took out another $10,000 in cash from ATMs over a few weeks. She did all of this without telling me, obviously, and I found out when I started asking her for some money she owed me for a loan I gave her last year. I confronted her, asking why she did that without even asking me. Her response was that she needed the money and that she's family, so it's not like it was stealing. She argued that because our parents left us both money, it was basically all hers too, and that I wasn't using the money for anything urgent. I was shocked and hurt. I've never taken money from her without permission, and I always try to be fair and supportive. I told her I was going to report the unauthorized withdrawals to the bank and change all my passwords immediately. Since then, I've cut off financial contact with her completely. I refused to lend her any more money and didn't want to share the inheritance any further. She's now demanding that I give her back the $30,000 plus an extra $10,000 she claims I owe her for other reasons, basically acting like it's my responsibility to help fix her financial mess because we're sisters. Our extended family is split on this. Some say that since we are family, I should be more understanding and share the money to help her get back on her feet. Others agree that what she did was completely wrong and that I shouldn't be forced to bail her out of her poor choices, especially after she took money from me without asking. I've tried explaining to her that I'm hurt and feel betrayed. Money was a private matter, and her taking from me like that feels like a violation of trust. I'm willing to help her in other ways, emotional support, helping her find a job, or budgeting advice. But I'm not giving her money she took from me or any more inheritance. She says I'm selfish and that I don't care about family. I don't know if I'm overreacting, but it feels like she took advantage of me, and now she wants me to be responsible for her problems. AITA for refusing to give her money after what she did? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé's behavior and causing a huge family rift? This is a long one, so bear with me. I'm 28F and my sister, 30F, is getting married in a few months. I have always been close to my sister, but over the past year, things have gotten complicated, and now I'm in the middle of a family drama that I didn't expect. I need an outside perspective to see if I'm really the asshole here or if I'm justified. My sister, let's call her Emily, met her fiancé, Tom, about 1.5 years ago. At first, Tom seemed charming, funny, and genuinely interested in my sister's happiness. He was polite to the family, showed up to gatherings, and seemed like a good fit. Emily was head over heels, and we all wanted her to be happy. But as time went on, Tom's true colors started to show. It began with small things that most people might brush off or excuse. He was often late, made jokes that felt a bit off, and seemed dismissive when anyone questioned his opinions. But it escalated pretty quickly after they got engaged. Tom started to act possessive and controlling toward Emily. She stopped seeing some of her friends and family as much, especially me. Whenever I invited her to do something, she would either cancel last minute or say Tom wasn't comfortable with her going. At first, I thought it was a honeymoon phase, or maybe she was just busy, but it went on for months. The biggest red flags came when Tom started showing disrespect to the family directly. At a family dinner, he made a snide comment about my parents' financial situation, implying they weren't successful enough for Emily. It was embarrassing, and everyone was silent except Emily, who nervously laughed it off. I later confronted him privately and told him that wasn't acceptable. He apologized, but it felt insincere. After that, Tom became increasingly hostile toward me. I'm not sure if he saw me as a threat or just didn't like that I was close with Emily, but he started making passive-aggressive remarks in front of others and would undermine me when Emily wasn't around. One example was when he told our cousin that I was too intense and always trying to stir drama, which I found out through a mutual friend. Emily didn't seem to notice or didn't want to confront it. Whenever I brought up concerns, she would say I was overreacting or that Tom had a tough background and needed patience. I tried to give her space and be supportive because I love her and want her to be happy. Fast forward to the engagement party a few months ago. Tom drank a lot and got visibly rude. He snapped at my mom for asking about the wedding plans and made a sarcastic comment about old-fashioned traditions that upset my grandmother. When I tried to calm the situation, he dismissed me and said I was overstepping. Emily looked uncomfortable but didn't say anything. I left early that night feeling frustrated. After that night, I told Emily I couldn't support the wedding if Tom was going to behave that way and that I was seriously considering not attending. I said I wanted her to be happy, but her fiancé needed to respect her family. Emily got defensive and accused me of trying to sabotage her relationship. She said I was jealous and that Tom was the best thing to ever happen to her. The tension between us grew. My parents sided with Emily, saying I was being judgmental and that I should accept Tom for who he is. Even some relatives told me to back off and let Emily live her life. My sister started ignoring my calls and messages. Now, it's 2 months before the wedding. Tom has doubled down on his rude behavior in family settings, and Emily hasn't confronted him. I told her I wouldn't attend unless Tom apologized and made a real effort to change. She said that was an ultimatum and that if I didn't come, I'd be choosing to destroy our family. I am stuck. I love my sister, but I don't want to be around someone who disrespects my family and treats her badly. My parents are upset with me for causing drama, and Emily won't talk to me. Some family members say I should just grin and bear it for one day, but I feel like I'm standing up for boundaries. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé's behavior? Or should I just let it go for the sake of family peace? Hey friends, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. AITA for refusing to help my sister with her wedding after she insulted me in front of our entire family. So, here's a long one. I, 29F, have a sister, Amy, 31F, and we've always had a somewhat complicated relationship. Growing up, we were close, but as adults, things got tense over time, mostly because of her personality and the way she treats people, especially me. Amy is the oldest, and she's always been the golden child in our family. She's incredibly demanding, has very high expectations for everyone around her, and can be really cutting with her words. I, on the other hand, have always been more laid back and sensitive, which apparently makes me a target for her sarcasm and passive aggressiveness. Our parents have kind of enabled her behavior because they think she's just blunt and direct, but it's more like she's cruel under the guise of honesty. Fast forward a few years, and Amy got engaged last year to her fiancé, Mark, 33M. They started planning this huge wedding, and from the get-go, Amy has been very vocal about wanting everything perfect and on her terms. She asked me to be a bridesmaid, which I was hesitant about because of past experiences with her, but I agreed because I didn't want to cause drama. I thought maybe being involved in the wedding planning could help improve our relationship. Wrong. The moment we started the planning, Amy was impossible. She dismissed my opinions, criticized my dress choice, which she picked out, and made passive-aggressive comments about how I should try harder to be helpful. I helped where I could, running errands, attending dress fittings, organizing pre-wedding events, but Amy always found a way to belittle my efforts or make me feel like I was in the way. 2 months before the wedding, I was helping set up decorations for the bridal shower. Amy was already stressed, and I accidentally knocked over a small vase while reaching for some flowers. It wasn't a big deal, but Amy exploded. She yelled in front of everyone about how careless and useless I was, saying she didn't understand why she had to rely on me when I clearly couldn't do anything right. Everyone was shocked, and I was embarrassed and hurt. I tried to apologize and help fix things, but Amy kept giving me the cold shoulder for days afterward. Our parents tried to smooth things over, but Amy insisted I was too sensitive and needed to toughen up. Then came the final straw. About 3 weeks before the wedding, Amy called me to ask for help with some last-minute tasks. I was busy with work, but agreed to come over and help after hours. When I got there, she started grilling me about why I hadn't done more earlier and accused me of not caring about her wedding. I told her I'd been doing my best, but felt like my efforts weren't appreciated. She snapped and said, "You're always making everything about you. This is my day, and you're acting like the victim again. Maybe if you weren't so useless and self-absorbed, I wouldn't have to deal with you." That stung, but I didn't respond. I just finished the tasks she gave me and left early. 2 days later, Amy sent me a group text to our family that basically said, "Since my name clearly doesn't want to be part of this and is causing unnecessary drama, she won't be involved in any more wedding stuff." She didn't just exclude me from wedding tasks. She announced it to the whole family like it was some sort of punishment. I felt humiliated. I was willing to help, but Amy made me feel worthless and then publicly shamed me. At this point, I decided to step back and not help with any more wedding stuff. I told Amy that I would still attend the wedding, but I wasn't going to be involved in planning or prep anymore. She hasn't talked to me since, and our parents keep pressuring me to forgive and forget because it's Amy's big day. The wedding is in 2 weeks, and I'm still feeling torn. I don't want to cause a scene, but I also don't want to be treated like I'm the bad guy when I tried to help and got insulted instead. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to help my sister with her wedding after she insulted me in front of everyone and publicly excluded me from the planning? Or should I just suck it up and do what she wants for the sake of family peace? AITA for refusing to help my sister after she deliberately destroyed my career opportunity because she felt entitled to it? I, 32F, work in a very competitive and niche industry. For years, I've been grinding to get my dream job at one of the top companies in my field. After many years of hard work, late nights, and professional sacrifices, I finally got an interview for this position. It's a huge deal for me, the culmination of everything I've worked toward, and it would change my life financially and professionally. Now, here's where it gets complicated. I have a younger sister, 28F. Let's call her Emily, who has always been jealous of me. Growing up, I was the golden child in our family, top grades, extracurriculars, awards, you name it. Emily was always more carefree, less focused, and honestly, a bit reckless. She's great in her own way, but she never put in the kind of effort I did. Our parents always praised me more, and Emily often threw fits about it. Fast forward to today, Emily lives in a different city and works a stable but unexciting job. She's never had the same career ambitions I have, but recently she started talking about wanting a fresh start in my industry. She even mentioned trying to get a position at the company I'm interviewing with, even though she doesn't have nearly the same qualifications or experience. A few weeks ago, I received an email from the company confirming the date of my final interview. It was supposed to be in 2 weeks. Excited and nervous, I told Emily about it over the phone because I'm usually open with my family about big news. I never imagined she would react the way she did. The next day, I got a message from the HR department at the company saying my interview had been canceled because they had already filled the position. I was shocked and devastated because I hadn't heard anything about the job being taken. I called the HR person who told me someone else was hired very recently, and it wasn't a coincidence that this other candidate shared my last name. My heart sank when I realized what had happened. Emily had somehow applied, possibly used my referral code, or otherwise inserted herself into the process, knowing full well it would ruin my chances. I confronted her immediately. She admitted she did it and said she deserved a shot too because she felt stuck in her current life and jealous of my success. She even said, "Maybe it's time you saw what it feels like to lose." I told her this was incredibly unfair, and she crossed a line. This was my dream job, my future, and she sabotaged me out of envy. Emily got defensive and said I was being selfish for not wanting to share the opportunity. She tried to guilt-trip me, claiming I always got everything handed to me, and now it was her turn. Since then, I've been struggling emotionally and professionally. I had to tell my close colleagues and mentors that I'm no longer moving forward with this position, which is humiliating. I've also been avoiding family gatherings because I'm ashamed of what happened and angry at Emily for betraying me. Our parents are upset but seem to be trying to smooth things over, saying I should forgive her because she's family and made a mistake. I've told Emily I'm not going to help her or support her professionally anymore because of this. She keeps messaging me, apologizing but also trying to justify her actions. She says we can rebuild our relationship if I forgive her, but honestly, I don't know if I can. So, AITA for refusing to help my sister after she sabotaged my career opportunity? Should I just forgive and move on because she's family, or is it fair for me to hold this against her? I feel like what she did is unforgivable and deeply damaging. But some friends have told me I might be too harsh and that family should come first. I'm conflicted and hurt. What do you think? AITA for refusing to let my sister bring her newborn to my wedding, even though it caused a huge family rift? So, this happened recently, and I'm still kind of stunned by how big this blew up. I, 28F, have been engaged to my fiancée, 30M, for about a year now, and we've been planning our wedding for the past 9 months. The wedding is coming up in about 2 months, and the whole thing is pretty much set. We decided on a fairly intimate ceremony, about 70 people in total, which already caused some tension with extended family, but we stuck to our guns because we wanted the day to be special and manageable. Now, here's where the trouble started. My younger sister, 25F, had her first baby about a month ago. The baby's adorable and all, but my sister has been, well, demanding is the word I'd use. Ever since she found out about the wedding plans, she has been pushing to bring her newborn with her. This is where the conflict began. We live in a city with a pretty old venue, and the wedding ceremony is indoors in a historic building that has some strict rules, including no infants under 6 months during the ceremony due to noise and safety concerns. We also have a cocktail reception afterward at a venue that's small and not exactly baby-friendly. We told my sister from the start that due to these reasons, and also to keep the guest list within our limit, we can't have babies at the wedding. We wanted the day to be about us and our close family and friends, and unfortunately, bringing a newborn just wasn't feasible. My sister was upset, but said she understood. Then, about 2 weeks ago, she started bringing it up again, telling me she'd find a way to bring the baby regardless because it's her first time being at my wedding and she wants to be there with her baby. I tried explaining again that it's not just about whether she wants to bring the baby, it's venue rules and logistics, and that we simply can't allow it. She then went to my parents and told them I was being unreasonable and cruel for not letting her bring her child. My parents, who love their grandchild and have been kind of spoiling her, started pressuring me to compromise for the sake of family harmony. They said, "It's just one baby. We can handle it. You don't want to make your sister feel excluded." I explained that I'm not excluding her or the baby. We love the baby and are thrilled to have her in our lives. This is just about the wedding setup. But my parents weren't budging. Now, here's the kicker. My fiancé and I came up with a solution to try and meet in the middle. We offered to have a special family get-together the day after the wedding where the baby would be welcome and where everyone can meet and celebrate without the venue restrictions. We hoped this would ease the tension. However, my sister saw this as a lesser version of the wedding and refused, saying it's not the same as being there on the day. The tension escalated. My sister told my parents she wouldn't come if the baby isn't allowed. My parents told me they might not come either because they want to support my sister and the baby. Suddenly, it felt like the whole family was at risk of missing the wedding over this. I stood firm because it felt important to me and my fiancé to have the wedding the way we planned. The venue has rules, and we had to respect them. I also felt that if we start bending the rules for one family member, it sets a precedent and complicates everything. I don't think it's unfair to set boundaries for such a major event. So, the wedding is coming up, and my sister and parents have made it clear they are hurt and disappointed. Some relatives have taken sides, with some supporting me, and others saying I'm being cold and not family-oriented. Honestly, I'm heartbroken that my sister doesn't want to be there on my big day, but I don't think I'm in the wrong. It's a wedding, not a daycare center, and my fiancé and I wanted to have a certain atmosphere and respect the venue's policies. AITA for refusing to let my sister bring her newborn to the wedding, even though it caused a huge family rift. AITA for telling my sister that she can't bring her new boyfriend to our family vacation, even though everyone else thinks I'm being unreasonable. So, this has been a really tough situation for me, and I'm still not sure if I'm the asshole or not. I'm hoping to get some outside perspective because family dynamics are always complicated, and sometimes it's hard to see things clearly when you're in the middle of them. A little background first. I, 32F, have a sister, Emma, 29F, who's been kind of a wild card for most of our lives. We're pretty close in general, but she's always had this pattern of making impulsive decisions that affect not just her, but everyone around her. Our family is pretty tight-knit otherwise. Parents, a younger brother, and a couple of cousins who we all grew up with. We usually do a big family vacation every year, which is kind of sacred to all of us. It's a week-long trip, usually somewhere remote but beautiful, where we disconnect and just focus on spending quality time together. Anyway, Emma recently started dating this new guy. Let's call him Jake. She's pretty private about her relationships, so we didn't really know much about him at first, except that he seemed nice enough when we met briefly at a birthday party. She's been dating Jake for about 3 months now, which isn't very long in the grand scheme of things. Here's where it gets complicated. Our family trip is coming up in about a month. For the last few years, it's always been immediate family only. No significant others, no extended friends, just us. We've done this because the trip is really about reconnecting with family, and it's a tradition that's been really meaningful for everyone. Emma, however, sent a message to the family group chat saying she wanted to bring Jake along this year. The reaction was mixed. Most of the family was kind of stunned because this was a sudden request, and it felt like breaking a long-standing tradition. Our parents said they hadn't thought about inviting non-family before, but they were open to discussing it. Our cousins were worried it might change the vibe of the trip. The younger brother was mostly indifferent, but hinted that he preferred it to stay the way it was. I, on the other hand, was immediately uncomfortable with the idea. To be honest, I don't have anything personally against Jake. I barely know him, so I can't say if I like or dislike him. But my concerns are deeper than just a new boyfriend joining the trip. Over the years, Emma has brought different partners to family events, and it's almost always caused drama. Whether it was awkward behavior arguments, or just an overall change in the atmosphere. It's been a pattern. This trip is one of the few times everyone is in the same place, relaxed, and able to truly enjoy each other's company without outside distractions. I fear that introducing Jake so soon will upset that balance. So I told Emma directly that I didn't think it was a good idea for Jake to come this year. I explained that the trip was meant for family bonding and that bringing a new partner she hadn't even introduced properly to everyone could be disruptive. I told her I wanted to protect the family dynamic and that I was worried about possible drama. She immediately got upset, accused me of being controlling, and said that Jake was part of her life now and that she wanted him to be part of family events. I understand where she's coming from, but I also feel like this is too soon and too much of a change all at once. The family has never done this before, and it's a big deal for me because I'm really invested in maintaining this tradition. I suggested maybe next year, once everyone has had a chance to get to know Jake better, but Emma didn't want to hear it. She said I was being unfair and that I should just accept her choices. The argument escalated pretty quickly. Emma told me that I was prioritizing some arbitrary tradition over her happiness and accused me of trying to control her social life. Our parents eventually stepped in to calm things down, but now the family is divided. Some say I'm being rigid and unreasonable, while others agree with me that the trip shouldn't be a place for new relationships just yet. The bigger issue for me is that Emma has a history of bringing new partners into family events who end up causing tension. This has happened 3 or 4 times in the last few years, and it always leads to some kind of drama that lasts the whole trip. I feel like this time, I'm just trying to prevent that before it even starts. It's not that I don't want to accept Jake or her choices. I want to meet him and get to know him better first, but this trip feels like the wrong time. I'm wondering if I overstepped by telling her outright she couldn't bring him. Should I have just let the family decide? Or am I justified in trying to preserve the family tradition and avoid potential conflict? Am I the asshole for putting my foot down on this and prioritizing the family dynamic over my sister's new relationship? Thanks for reading. I'm really torn here. AITA for refusing to let my brother move back in after he kicked his pregnant girlfriend out. So this is a long and messy family drama, and I'm still trying to figure out if I'm in the wrong here. I'm a 29-year-old woman, and my brother, 27, has always been kind of the black sheep in our family. We grew up in a small town, pretty close-knit family, but my brother has had a rough time staying on track with jobs and relationships. For years, he's bounced between living with our parents and crashing on friends' couches because he never really found stable work or took responsibility for much. Anyway, about a year ago, he got together with this girl, Emily. They met at a bar, started dating, and things seemed serious fast. I wasn't super close to Emily, but I could tell she really cared about my brother, and honestly, it felt like she was the first person to stick with him in a meaningful way. Then, about 6 months into their relationship, Emily got pregnant. It was kind of shock to the whole family because my brother hadn't mentioned anything about planning for a kid or changing his lifestyle. Fast forward to 2 months ago, my brother suddenly showed up at my place, furious and clearly upset. He told me Emily kicked him out of the apartment they had been renting together. I was confused because I hadn't heard about any issues between them before. He said she was angry at him for not helping enough with the pregnancy and being unreliable. So she told him to leave and said she didn't want him around anymore. He begged me to let him stay with me until he figured out what to do next. Here's the catch. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. It's small but cozy, and I live alone. I'm single, and while I'm close with my family, I'm also at a point where I really value my space and quiet. My brother crashing with me would mean he'd be staying indefinitely because I doubt he could find a new place immediately, especially with no stable income. I told him honestly that I didn't think it was a good idea. I didn't want to be a cold sister, but I also didn't want to enable his lack of responsibility. Plus, I work long hours and often have clients and friends over, so it would be awkward for him and stressful for me. I offered to help him look for temporary housing or connect him with some shelters and community resources, but I just couldn't let him live with me. He got really angry and accused me of being selfish, that I wasn't supporting family, and that I was turning my back on him in his time of need. Our parents took his side too and called me out for being cold and unloving. They said he needed a safe place because Emily had thrown him out unfairly and that I should put family first. My parents even suggested I make space for him in my apartment or at least let him stay for a short while. I stood my ground and explained that supporting him didn't have to mean housing him in my one bedroom. I was willing to help financially and emotionally, but I couldn't sacrifice my own stability. I also pointed out that this was the same brother who had ghosted on family events, refused help for years, and never stepped up to be responsible. Emily's side isn't in the picture much anymore. After this fight, she moved back to her parents and started looking into co-parenting arrangements. I don't know all the details, but from what I gather, she's been trying to handle things on her own and hasn't asked for family involvement. Since this happened, the tension has been thick. My brother refuses to talk to me unless it's to demand a place to stay. Our parents barely speak to me without bringing up how I'm making the situation worse. I feel guilty sometimes because he is family and he's clearly in a rough spot, but I also feel like I have to draw a line. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my brother move back into my apartment after he was kicked out by his pregnant girlfriend? Was I too harsh by putting my own space and boundaries over family? Or am I justified in wanting to protect my stability? AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé stay in my house after he insulted my husband and tried to control our family dynamic? I, 34F, have always been close to my sister, 29F. We grew up in a small town and remained tight throughout adulthood, even though we live in different cities now. Over the last few years, she's been dating her fiancé, 30M. Let's call him Jason. At first, I liked him well enough. He seemed charming, responsible, and I was genuinely happy for my sister when they got engaged. My husband, 36M, Dan, and I have been married for 6 years. Dan is the kindest, most patient person I know. We have a strong, healthy relationship, and we have a 2-year-old daughter, Emma. Dan works as a software engineer, and I'm a graphic designer working from home. We've built a comfortable life and have a close-knit group of friends and family. The trouble began about 3 months ago when Jason asked if he and my sister could stay at our place for a weekend. They were visiting from out of state and didn't want to stay in a hotel. I agreed because I wanted to be hospitable and thought it would be a chance for everyone to bond. From the moment they arrived, things fell off. Jason was unusually demanding. He criticized the way Dan and I kept our house, too cluttered, not organized enough, and made a point of loudly complaining about how people live these days. I brushed it off, thinking maybe he was just tired from travel. But then it got worse. One evening, after Emma had gone to bed, Jason started making passive-aggressive comments about Dan's job. He said something along the lines of, "It must be nice to have a cushy office job that barely pays the bills," which was not only untrue but disrespectful. Dan calmly explained that he makes a good living and that his job provides stability for our family. Jason scoffed and said, "Yeah, stability but no ambition. I don't get how you settle for less." That was the first time I really felt defensive. I told Jason that he didn't need to put down Dan's work or our life choices. He laughed and said he was just being honest. I reminded him that if he wanted to be part of our family, he needed to respect us. Things continued to escalate over the weekend. Jason started telling my sister and me how we should parent Emma, that we were too lenient and that she needed to be disciplined properly. This was particularly frustrating because I had been a stay-at-home mom for the last 2 years and took pride in the way we raised Emma with kindness and structure. The breaking point came late Sunday afternoon. We were all having coffee in the living room, trying to have a relaxed conversation, when Jason suddenly said, "Honestly, you guys seem stuck in your little bubble. You've got this perfect little family, but you're missing the bigger picture. You should listen to me more. I actually know what's best for you and your sister." Dan, who had been quiet most of the weekend, stood up and told Jason that his attitude was not welcome and that he needed to show respect or leave. Jason snapped back, telling Dan he was overreacting and that Dan was just jealous because he couldn't provide the same kind of life Jason planned to give my sister. I lost it. I told Jason that he was not welcome to stay under our roof again, that his behavior was toxic, and that if he wanted to be part of our family, he needed to rethink his attitude and approach. My sister, surprisingly, sided with Jason. She said I was being overly sensitive and that I was ruining the visit by making everything about me and Dan. She accused me of being jealous and controlling because I didn't want them to stay with us. She said Jason was only trying to help us see beyond our narrow life. I was stunned. I told her that it wasn't about jealousy or control. It was about basic respect and kindness. I also told her that I wouldn't tolerate anyone putting down my husband or our family in our own home. My sister left that day, furious, saying I was selfish and that she wouldn't be visiting us again. Since then, my parents have gotten involved. They called me and told me I was being unreasonable and that I should apologize to Jason and my sister for causing a scene. They said families need to compromise and that I was picking fights over nothing. I've stood my ground and told them that I won't apologize for protecting my family from disrespect. Some friends say I was right to kick Jason out and defend Dan, but others think I overreacted and that I should have just let it go for the sake of peace. So Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé stay in my house after he insulted my husband and tried to control our family dynamic. AITA for refusing to give my sister's ex-fiancé a job at my company, even though it could save his career. This all started about a year ago, and honestly, I'm still wrestling with whether I was the jerk or if I did the right thing. So, here goes. I, 32 am, run a mid-sized tech company in a fairly competitive market. I started it about 7 years ago after working in the industry for a while, and we've grown steadily since then. It's still a small enough business that I'm involved in the hiring process, and I know most of the employees personally. My sister, Anna, 30F, got engaged about 2 years ago to a guy named Mark, 33M. Mark worked in the same industry, but not in my company. From what I understood, they met at a conference, hit it off, and got serious pretty fast. I always liked Mark well enough. He seemed smart, funny, and genuinely cared for Anna. Anna was really happy, so I was happy for her. However, things started going downhill about 6 months ago. Anna and Mark broke up very abruptly, and it was pretty messy. Apparently, Mark had been hiding a lot of financial troubles and some questionable decisions at work from Anna. I won't go into every detail because it's not my story to tell, but suffice to say, Anna was hurt and angry. Around the same time, Mark's career also took a hit. His employer found out about some ethical violations he was involved in, and he was fired. This wasn't a small slap on the wrist. His entire reputation in the industry took a major hit, and it looked like he might have trouble finding a new job in the field. About 2 months after the breakup, Mark reached out to me, asking if I could help him get a job at my company. He said he was trying to turn his life around and would be grateful for a chance to prove himself. I understood the situation and wanted to be supportive, but I had my reservations. First, Mark's professional reputation was tarnished, and I knew that hiring him would raise eyebrows among my staff and clients. Second, Anna was still pretty raw from the breakup, and I didn't want to create a situation where she'd feel uncomfortable or betrayed. Third, my company was going through a sensitive period. We had a couple of big projects coming up, and I needed people I could trust implicitly. I told Mark that I wasn't in a position to offer him a job right now, but that I'd be willing to reconsider in the future if he could demonstrate real change. He was disappointed, but said he understood. Here's where things got complicated. Anna found out that Mark had asked me for a job. She was furious, not at Mark, but at me. She accused me of playing favorites and being cold, saying that if I cared about the family, I'd at least try to help him. She said I was shutting him out when he needed family the most. I tried explaining my position, that it was a professional decision, not personal, that I had to think about the company's well-being and the message hiring him might send. But she wasn't having it. She said I was being petty and that I should just hire him on a trial basis. A few weeks later, Mark got in touch again, now asking if I could at least give him an internship or something entry-level to get his foot in the door. I told him I would keep an eye out, but didn't make any promises. That's when things took a turn for the worse. Anna started bringing up the topic in family gatherings, openly criticizing me in front of our parents and other relatives. She said I was letting Mark suffer and that I wasn't being a good brother. She even suggested that I was punishing Mark for the breakup and that I should separate business and personal feelings. I felt attacked and misunderstood. I wasn't punishing anyone. I was just making what I thought was a responsible decision. I tried to reach out to Anna, hoping to clear the air, but she didn't want to hear it. Fast forward a few months, and I ended up hiring someone else for the role Mark wanted. The new hire is talented and has been doing well. Mark is still unemployed, and Anna is increasingly cold toward me. The last straw came last week when Anna posted on social media about how family means nothing when money and pride get in the way. She didn't name me explicitly, but it was obvious who she meant. Some family members reached out to me privately, asking what was going on, and I explained as best as I could. I'm torn. I do want to support my sister and be there for her during tough times, but I also have responsibilities as a business owner. Hiring Mark, given the circumstances, felt like it could jeopardize the company and morale. So, AITA for refusing to give my sister's ex-fiancé a job when it might have helped him turn his life around? Or should I have put family first despite the professional risks? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of how she's treating my stepmom? I, 32F, come from a pretty complicated family situation, and this whole wedding drama is making me question whether I'm the asshole here or if I'm justified in how I'm feeling. I want to give as much context as possible so you can understand where I'm coming from. My parents divorced when I was 10. My dad remarried about 5 years ago to a woman I'll call Jane, 45F. Jane and I didn't have the best relationship at first. I wasn't thrilled about my dad remarrying, and Jane had some questionable behavior early on that made me wary. Over time, though, I saw that she genuinely cared about my dad, and after a few years, I started warming up to her. I won't say we're super close, but we have a decent, respectful relationship now. My sister, Emma, 29F, has always been more vocal and less tolerant. She never liked Jane from the start, and it's always been obvious. My dad and Jane don't talk much with Emma anymore because she constantly criticizes Jane and brings up things that happened years ago to provoke fights. Now, Emma is getting married to her fiancé, Mark, 31M, in about 2 months. The wedding planning has been a nightmare from the start because Emma is very controlling and has a very particular vision for her big day. My dad and Jane were invited to the engagement party and the bridal shower, but haven't been included in much else because Emma is trying to keep things perfect and apparently doesn't want Jane anywhere near the wedding party. What's really been bothering me is how Emma has been treating Jane throughout this whole process. She's made it clear she doesn't want Jane involved in anything. Emma has told my dad that Jane won't be welcome at the rehearsal dinner or the reception. She even refused to invite Jane to the bridal luncheon, which was meant to be a small gathering of women close to the bride. Emma says that Jane isn't family in the real sense, and that including her would upset their mother, my biological mom, who is coming from out of town and has never been fond of Jane either. Emma claims she's doing this to avoid drama, but honestly, I think she's being cruel and exclusionary. I talked to my dad about this, and he's caught between wanting to support Emma and not wanting to cause tension in the family. He's upset, but also says he doesn't want to force Emma to change her plans since it's her wedding. Jane is visibly hurt by the whole situation. She's told me privately that she feels like an outsider and that this is making her question whether she even wants to be around for the wedding. My dad has also said he might skip some events if Jane isn't welcome because he doesn't want to leave her alone at home. I confronted Emma about her behavior and told her that excluding Jane isn't right and that this is going to cause lasting damage to family relationships. Emma responded by saying she's the bride and can do whatever she wants, that she's just protecting her special day, and that Jane's presence would make things awkward for everyone. Because of this, I told my dad and Jane that I'm not going to the wedding if Jane is excluded. I told Emma that I refuse to be part of a celebration where my stepmom is treated like a second-class guest, just because she's not my sister's real family. Emma accused me of making the wedding about family drama and said I'm being selfish and trying to start a fight on her big day. My parents and Jane are upset with me because they feel I'm escalating the situation and putting my foot down in a way that could ruin Emma's wedding. My mom says I should just go, keep quiet, and not rock the boat. I feel stuck because I want to support my sister on her wedding day, but I also want to stand up for Jane, who's been nothing but kind and welcoming to me over the years. I don't think I'm asking for anything unreasonable by expecting my sister to be respectful toward my family. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because she's excluding my stepmom? Or is Emma the asshole for treating Jane so poorly and risking our family relationships over her perfect wedding vision. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.